Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Lecturer Insinyur Zikri Firmansyah Hakam ST PGDIP MSc PhD. My name is Niken Vintang Erdwiyana, and today I will present my analysis titled A Microeconomic Analysis of the Electric Vehicles Industry in Indonesia. In this presentation, I analyze EV market in Indonesia using key microeconomic concepts. Through this analysis, we can better understand how economic forces shape the development of the EV industry in Indonesia. Over the past decade, the global transportation sector has been undergoing a major transition toward cleaner energy. Electric vehicles, or EVs, have become an important part of this transition as the governments and firms seek to reduce greenhouse gas emission and dependence on fossil fuels. In Indonesia, the EV market has grown rapidly in recent years. According to the data from Indonesian Automotive Industry Association, EV sales reached more than 37,000 units in 2024, representing of 73% increase compared to the previous year. This rapid growth makes the EV industry an interesting case for microeconomic analysis. In this study, I analyzed the Indonesian EV market using key microeconomic concepts such as demand and supply dynamics, market structure, firm behaviors, and welfare implications of government policies. Before analyzing the EV market using microeconomic concepts, it's important to define the relevant market. In this study, the product market focused on battery electric vehicles or BEVs, which are fully electric and different from hybrid vehicle. The geographic scope of this analysis is Indonesia, where government policies and infrastructure development significantly influence EV adoption. The market participants include consumers such as urban households and fleet buyers, while on the supply side, there are several major of EV manufacturers such as BYD and Hyundai and Wuling. In addition, EVs compete with substitutes such as conventional gasoline vehicle, internal combustion engine or ICE vehicle, and hybrid cars. So we move to the market equilibrium of EV. In a competitive market settings, the equilibrium price and quantity of electric vehicles are determined by the intersection of demand and supply. At this point, the quantity of demand by consumers equal to the quantity supplied by producer. Although EVs still represent a relatively small share of the overall automotive market, the number of EV in Indonesia has grown rapidly in recent years. As shown in the chart of EV sales, and cumulative stock have increased significantly since 2020. By the mid-2025, the total number of electric vehicles in Indonesia exceeded 100,000 units. This trend indicates strong growth potential for the EV industry and increasing interest from both consumers and manufacturers. Demand for electric vehicles in Indonesia has grown rapidly in the recent years. Demand for EV market growth, EV sales exceeded 43,000 units in 2024 and 151% year-on-year increase. It's by IBC Institute 2025. And from microeconomic perspective, EV demand is influenced by several factors. First, income plays an important role because EVs are relatively expensive and tend to behave as normal goods. And the second, gasoline price. Higher fuel prices increase EV demand, and government incentive, subsidies and tax reduction, and the less charging infrastructure reduce range anxiety. Government incentives play an important role in accelerating EV adoption. Subsidies and tax reductions effectively lower the purchase price faced by consumer. Demand shift to the right after subsidy. Subsidy increase willingness to buy. If the demand increase and then EV quantity increases too. Okay, we move to supply analysis of electric vehicle. EV production cost structure. High fixed costs such as like R&D, battery technology, and manufacturing facilities, and lower marginal cost once production scales increase. EV have battery costs. If battery cost decline, battery is the most expensive EV component. If the battery cost decline, it's reduce marginal cost. For the microeconomic impact, lower marginal cost, it means supply curve shift to the right. So, supply shift battery. Supply shift battery cost decline. As production cost fall, manufacturers are willing to make the vehicle at the price level, causing the supply curve shift to the right. If battery costs reduce or decrease, marginal costs decrease, and then supply will increase. Okay, we move to the market structure. Market structure of EV industry is differentiated oligopoly. Industry structure, EV market dominated by a small number of large firms. Example, BYD, Hyundai, and Woolly in Indonesia. It's the big EV market in Indonesia. And product differentiation: first, battery range; second, charging speed; third, software ecosystem; and the fourth, brand reputation. High barriers to entry. Large capital invest because of large capital investment, advanced technology and R&D, and battery supply chain control. And strategic competition. Firms consider competitor reaction and pricing decision influenced by strategic decision maker. Okay, so elasticity measures how responsive demand or supply to change in a price or other economic variables. Elasticity and policy implication of EV. EV demand is relatively price elastic. Small price reduction can significantly increase EV adoption. For the income elasticity, EVs behave as normal goods, and higher income is higher EV demand too. And then for the policy implication, government subsidies lower effective prices, and the second impact depends on relative elasticity of supply and demand. Electric vehicle adoption generates positive externalities because it reduces air pollution and greenhouse gas emission. However, consumers usually consider only their private benefits when making purchasing decision. As a result, the market equilibrium quantity of EVs is lower than the socially optimal level. And the government subsidies can help correct this market failure by lowering the effective price of EVs and increasing demand. From the welfare perspective, these policies can increase both consumer surplus and producer surplus. Although policymakers must carefully determine the optimal level of subsidies to avoid inefficiencies. In conclusion, the development of the EV industry in Indonesia can be understood through several key microeconomic forces. As illustrated in this framework, EV market outcomes are shaped by four main factors: demand conditions, supply dynamic, market structure, and government policy. Demand is influenced by factors such as income levels, fuel prices, and consumer preferences. On the supply side, production costs, particularly battery technology and economic of scale, determine how many vehicle firms are willing to produce. The EV industry also operates within a differentiated oligopoly where firms compete strategically through pricing, innovation, and product differentiation. In addition, government policies such as subsidies and industrial development strategies play an important role in accelerating EV adoption. Together, these factors determine market outcomes and ultimately influence welfare effects such as EV adoption rates, consumer surplus, and environmental benefits. Okay, then that's all from me. Thank you for your attention, Mr. Zikri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.